So it is Sunday, and that means it is the 29th of January. And one of the things that means is it's about almost 6 o'clock, and 3 hours ago, the big tent, the big event, annual event in Quartzsite ended, and that's over until the big tent event in 2024. And in 2024, I'm going to be 64. Just like that Beatles song. When I'm 64. I don't remember the melody exactly. But certainly the young men, members of the Beatles, were very young when they sang about what things might be like when they're 64. And they are all certainly less than 64. And guess what? This checkpoint is open. This is crazy. The checkpoint is the first time it's ever been open, and we got to stop, and I bet they're going to ask us stuff about where we live and all kinds of stuff, maybe. It's Border Patrol. Hey, officer.
Hi, how you doing?
What can I do to cooperate?
No, it's just we're doing an immigration inspection.
Okay.
You by yourself?
Yeah.
Are you an American citizen?
Yes, I am.
All right.
All right.
You see with all that stuff in there?
Yeah. I'm recording a YouTube video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything exciting on the road?
No.
No?
Well, yes. You know that little tiny church that has the sign "Combined Worship"? It's in the middle of a field.
Oh, okay.
I finally stopped to see that thing, and I'm recording it, and in the background I could hear rockets going off constantly in the proving grounds. Very weird, kind of surreal to be in this little church and hear all those rockets going off, but that was weird.
Oh, okay. All right, man.
Thanks for what you guys do.
All right, thanks, sir.
Big supporter. Yeah. So that was members of the U.S. Border Patrol doing their job, and I commend them for doing it. I probably gave them more information that they wanted. He was probably like, this guy needs to just keep going. He was like, can you see with all that stuff in front of me? And I said, yeah, I'm doing a YouTube video. I don't think they do. I think a state trooper might have thought about giving me a ticket for having too much of my windshield blocked. I'm sure there's a law that says you can't do what I'm doing now. I've got, well, you can't see, but I have another thing hanging from my rearview mirror for my phone that I'm not using right now, but it's hanging there. And then right in front of me is my Garmin. So there's all kinds. Oh, and the camera that goes off when there's an accident. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 things in front of the windshield. So anyway, it's probably illegal, maybe, to record border checkpoints. I'll Google that and make sure that it's legal to do that. If it's not, you won't be seeing it. If you saw that whole encounter, then it means I did my best to determine that was legal. Anyway, I was talking about I'm going to turn 64 and the Beatles song, and that, that also makes me think of that old man, take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. Remember that old Neil Young song? I just love that song. I know that I suspect that he was 24 years old when he wrote that song. He was just getting popular, and he got some money So he bought himself a ranch, and with the ranch came a old man, a caretaker who lived on the ranch and took care of the ranch. And I guess he was the old man was in his 60s, like this old man. And Neil Young wrote a song about him, and something about the man resonated with him. And there's a line in the song that makes me think he was 24, because there's a line that says, "I'm 24 and there's so much more." And my good friend Mike, who I worked with in Fairfax, Mike loved that line too. It's 24 and there's so much more. Just because of that, remembering that feeling that you're that age and just your whole life is ahead of you. It's exciting. There's so much in front of you, and you don't know what's in it. It's just that exciting feeling. So Neil Young is well past the age of the old man now. But anyway, I love that song. And if my singing was terrible, I apologize. Boy, there's you can't really see it, but this is kind of the magical hour in the desert as far as light. If up on the screen you see what looks like the sunset. That's not the sunset. That's the reflection of the sunset. The sunset's really on the other side, and you can't see. Well, actually, after this car goes by, I'll turn the camera a little bit so you get it. Maybe you can't really see how spectacular it really is. Oh, because I turned it the wrong way. How about if I turn it this way? No. That's just not going to work. I'm sorry. Or, if you can see it in here, if I turn it this way. No, just not going to work. You're not going to get to see the beautiful sunset that I'm seeing unless I stop the car and pull out the head. It's not worth it. So, the big tent's over. People will start the exodus out of Quartzsite. And by the middle of February, end of February, Quartzsite will be the slow little town that it usually is for the whole year. Beginnings and endings are often, beginnings are exciting and endings are a little sad. That's life. One of the things I love about Quartzsite is I come in for the winter, maybe sometime in November, and there's a buildup of excitement between like November 15th and the big tent is like January 21st. So there's like this momentum of people coming in and being excited about, Quartzsite, it's the winter. The Rubber Tramp rendezvous happens right before the Big Ten. So there's a lot of, and people celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas in the desert together in communities. And it's really, really cool. These potluck Thanksgiving and Christmas events are just, it's so exciting. But the end of the Big Ten, the 3 o'clock today, sort of marks the end of the season. And we'll all come back again next year, but we'll go our separate, for the most part, we go our separate ways for the summer. And I'm still not 100% positive about my summer, because I did get approved to be a volunteer camp host at Crane Flat Campground in Yosemite in California, but I've been trying to get a hold of the ranger that hired me, and I haven't gotten any. I've sent 2 emails now over 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm not getting any response. And I do know the Crane Flat Campground was closed for renovations last year, and it was going to open this year, and I don't know whether that's really going to be happening. I tried to get information on the recreation.gov. That's the website that they use to make reservations, and you can't make reservations on there under will see. And one of the wonderful things about this lifestyle is it's not like I have this gig because it's a job and I'm relying on the money. It's a gig that generally doesn't pay anything. It's a volunteer position, and they give me a campsite for the summer. So I can do any number of different things if that doesn't work out. Here's some possibilities. One would be my good friend Deborah Dickinson and Frugal RV gal last summer spent their summer in New Mexico because you can buy a non-resident state park pass for just, I think, $225 a year. And there's very small, I think, reservation fees, but you can dry camp for free after you pay the rent. And then if you want hookups, I think it's $11 a night. So and I think it's 2-week stays. So you have to move every couple of weeks, but there are plenty of parks to explore. And plenty of them at high enough elevation so you're not going to bake in the summer. So that seems like a very real possibility. The other possibility is to check things out in upstate New York and maybe spend some time with my siblings, my Margaret and Ann and Tad. That is, I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and 1 brother and 2 sisters. The 3 of them live in upstate New York in Ithaca. And my nephew owns a home in Ithaca that I don't believe he uses for the summer, so I may be able to spend whatever time they might be comfortable with me spending sort of camping in my trailer and that driveway. I'll have to ask about that. There are several state campgrounds around there. At one time I looked at doing volunteer camp hosting in New York, and it was odd, it was very only short-term gigs. You couldn't stay a whole summer as a campground host. I'll have to look into that again. But I might like to, go to do some camping in New Hampshire, kind of in the around New Hampton, New Hampshire, which is in northern Hampshire, where I went to boarding school. It would be neat to spend some time up there. And Meredith, New Hampshire is where my stepmother had a lake house that I spent several years in the summers, staying at that house and working in the grocery store. My first real job where there was a paycheck, an official paycheck and a time clock, was I worked at a local grocery store in Meredith, New Hampshire called E.M. Heath. And it was the Heath family that owned 2 of those stores. And long since they're gone and been bought out. But there was one store in Meredith where I worked, and there was the original store was in a town north of there called Center Harbor, and it was at the most northern point, I think, of the lake, if I remember correctly. It's not important. But what I do remember about that is the year before I started there was the year that Henry Fonda made, and his daughter Jane Fonda and Katharine Hepburn were in Dabney Coleman. We're all in a movie together called On Golden Pond. And it was shot on, I believe, it's called Big Squam Lake. And it's in that area. And the actors used to come into that grocery store when they were shooting up there. It's a great movie, an old movie, probably 50 years old at this point. And it's an interesting story. It's both a coming of age and growing old story, and also about estrangement between a father and a daughter, specifically the character that Henry Fonda played. His daughter played his daughter, and their estrangement was every actor except for there was a young man, an actor, I don't know his name, but he played, I think, a 12 or 13-year-old that was a catalyst for a lot of, he was the coming of age part, and that actor did a great job. And I'm curious now, I'll get home and look that up and see what else he did in the ensuing years, but I thought he did a really good job. Anyway, I've talked enough for another video.